every story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is a story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Omotayo Alo. In our top stories tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight. Now the news in full. President Muhammad Buhari played host to the Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi at the presidential villa. Briefing the press after a closed-door meeting, the two leaders promised to join forces in ridding Nigeria of insurgency and corruption. State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole filed in this report presented from our studio.
President Muhammad Buhari welcoming the Italian Prime Minister to the State House. The meeting of the two leaders is coming on the heels of the recent visit of President Buhari to Kenya and the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Briefing State House correspondent after their closed-door discussions, the President says it's significant for the two countries to diversify their economies by placing more emphasis on agriculture in view of the dwindling oil price.
Economic, political, agricultural, that he gives it the priority he has given it. We have discussed, especially with companies like ENI that have been in Nigeria around 40 years, and the role they have played in prospection and development of our petroleum resources. I also thank Italy very much for the help they extended to us in terms of training, equipping our police forces, and the cooperation with the immigration. The few consular issues that are raised are things that are natural between two nations, different nations and different cultures, which I think will be easily sorted out.
The Italian leader is also agreeing to join forces with Nigeria in the fight against corruption and insurgency.
Personally, I
He says the international community cannot fold its arms and watch insurgents undermine the lofty ideas of the Buhari administration.
Your leadership, President Buhari, is particularly important for us. This is the first visit of Prime Minister, but it's not the first visit of Italian government. The Deputy Minister Calenda participated to the ceremony of oath of President Buhari, and we will continue with great determination to invest in this friendship.
The two leaders also discussed how to further develop the country's energy sector to galvanize more jobs for the people. The Italian Prime Minister is making a stopover in Nigeria as part of his three-day tour to some West African country. He is due to visit Ghana and Senegal.
The Senate says cases of inconsistency inherent in the implementation of the 2015 budget in the education sector will not be acceptable. The displeasure is coming on the first day of the 2016 budget defense by authorities in the education sector. Senate Committee on Education is asking those concerned to identify and resolve such irregularities before the final passage of the 2016 budget. Our National Assembly correspondent Basi Aye filed in this report.
This is day one of the 2016 budget defense, and members of the Education Committee are already up and doing. They are not happy with the state of the education system in the country. The senators are urging the Minister of Education to reorganize the sector to enhance effective implementation of the 2016 budget.
We can't have a situation where our schools are losing money and parastatals are the one gaining money. Unless you can say that last year they suffered and you are trying to remediate that, but we need to get all those facts straight.
The committee members are also seeking clarification on the issue of conflicting figures compelling a response from the Minister of State and the ministry's permanent secretary.
I remain confident that the outcome of this budget defense discussion of the 2016 education sector budget proposal will help deepen our appreciation of the challenges in the education sector, especially in the critical areas mentioned. On our part, we shall continue to demonstrate our avowed commitment to create an enabling environment for Nigerian children and youth as access to the nation and enhance our global competitiveness in the education sector.
What we have done here is to put together all the parastatals, but we can look at the details and then find out which ones are actually increasing and which ones are not. But having said that also, the different polytechnics and the university, this was not something that was imposed on the universities or the polytechnics. They were the ones that submitted their personnel costs. It is what is on ground that they submit and we collate. So if they, for example, have a number of people that have retired, the onus is on those institutions to replace them through their councils.
We only lost over 100 million. We had 1.6 last year. This year we have 1.5. And I must tell you the history of regulation. For all you know, in the past 10 years, the number of universities have doubled. And with new private universities coming on board, it's become almost impossible to even do accreditation. So whether it's personnel cost or capital cost, we don't even have anything in capital. Last year we had only 70. And we got, out of 140, 70 million hours release. In recurrent, usually you get about 90% of personnel costs. Recurrent was also a problem. I mean, overhead was already a problem in running these systems. So it's not across the board.
As the defense continues next week, the committee says it is committed to transforming the educational sector through adequate oversight function. Basia Ye, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And still in education, the crisis rocking Kwara State University is yet to be solved, as two factional chairmen of the newly formed Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, is a match, with each claiming to be authentic. While one faction seems to be enjoying the backing of the school management, the other has the full support of the national body of ASU. Our correspondent Rashid reports.
The Kwara State University Malete has been engrossed in crisis over the plan of the academic staff to unionize. This has, however, led to disagreement with the management, leading to the suspension of some lecturers.
Was that some people occupied an academic space, a group, and the chief security officer of the university went to say, excuse me, he was trying to speak to a leader or two of them, that you have no permission, you've not received university's permission to occupy this space. And suddenly, some of them were removing their clothes, trying to hit, trying to beat, embarrassing, saying all sorts of things to the chief security officer of the university. So, and when it happened, university didn't even take any action until a report came from the chief security officer that now detailed what happened. No serious university anywhere in the world will keep quiet to that.
The intervention of state governor has, however, settled the first crisis, as the suspended lecturers were pardoned and the school directed to allow unionism in the campus. The school management was said to have issued a circular for the formation of unions, which led to the emergence of the Issa Ibrahim executive.
Let me clarify this. Union activities started in Kwasu by a circular issued by the management on the 4th of December. Before that time, before the circular that allow all unions activities to start, there was struggle to ensure and to impress on the management to allow us to unionize. So those are the struggles that existed before 4th of January, and consequently, the election that brought me in as the chairman. So in other words, as far as we are concerned, all academic staff, we are one. We struggle to ensure and to make sure that the management allows to carry out our activities peacefully.
The other faction, which had running battles with the management, however, described the purported election as nullity.
Well, the management wants theirs too. They want somebody that they will be dictating to be the ASU chairman. But now I have my executive intact, and this executive that I have is well known to the national body. They are the one that national body recognize, but not their own. The procedure that produced the executive is within the management and those that were selected.
As the crisis continued to fester, intervention of the state government is once again being sought by the warring faction.
Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose has reacted to the can of worms opened about the election that brought him to office over a year ago, describing the revelation of how the poll was rigged as lies. Ayo Fayose accused the former PDP State Secretary Tokwe Aluko of fabricating lies in collaboration with the APC in order to boot him out of office. Fayose insists the crisis brewing is the handiwork of the APC against the 2018 governorship elections.
Who is beating? Who is crying? That's the question to ask you. Who is beating? Who is crying? He says it's PDP scribe. Is he the one crying, or the APC is supposed to be crying? APC knows that they have come to the end of the road by the Supreme Court judgment. That's why they are using all that. And that's all about 2018 election. They should wait for their time. They should not be in a hurry. They should wait for 2018. There's no issue. That time will come, and God will give us life. The only game I know is politics. I am a professor in this game. And any day, any time, because they cannot touch these common people, they cannot go to buy akara where we are buying it, they cannot go to Agbojedi sector where we are drinking Agbojedi sector, they cannot go to Inyokolobe sector, they will be in Abuja shouting. How many of them do we know in Ekiti?
And still in Ekiti State, the index case of Lassa fever recorded in Ekiti State has been cured of the disease and discharged from the Federal Teaching Hospital, Ido-Ekiti. In the midst of celebrating the good news, infectious disease experts who managed the patient, however, decry low motivation in terms of hazard allowance. Rashid has details.
Since the index case of Lassa fever was recorded in Ekiti State, the Federal Teaching Hospital Ido-Ekiti has been literally tagged with the disease, being the place it was first discovered and also the health facility where the patient is being treated. Addressing journalists, however, the hospital leadership declares that the 18-year-old student nurse is being successfully treated and discharged.
The patient is well. The patient has been tested again at Irua Teaching Hospital and is now negative and has been discharged home.
Appreciating efforts of nurses and other health staff who managed the patient, outstanding infectious disease expert Joke Awutono appeals for worthy hazard allowance.
The federal government of Nigeria to please look inward into the area of our hazard allowance. 5,000 is so terrible for us to sacrifice our lives.
Having successfully managed Lassa fever, the hospital management calls for upgrading of the health facility to a disease diagnosing center.
This center will be a center for diagnosis and treatment to complement that of Irua.
While some staff are being celebrated, the management, however, vows to deal with some other health workers who desert their duty post while the Lassa fever scourge lasted at the Federal Teaching Hospital. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ido-Ekiti.
Please forgive them.
In part 2, after the break, the Minister for Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, is calling for community service as a deterrent to road offences in the country. Stay with us.
The Federal Inland Revenue Service FIRS calls on all corporate organizations operating in Nigeria to register for the purpose of payment of taxes and obtain a tax identification number TIN. All registered companies must obtain a tax identification number immediately from the nearest FIRS office. You can also collect and return tax registration forms from the Federal Inland Revenue Service Engagement and Enlightenment Tax Teams (FEET) on compliance checks exercise in your area. A company which is yet to commence business after at least 6 months of incorporation must pay a pre-operational levy of 20,000 naira in the first year and 25,000 naira for subsequent years to obtain its tax clearance certificate (TCC). Note that filing and payment of VAT and withholding tax returns must be done on or before the 21st day of every month. Register for VAT. File all tax returns as and at when due. Be a responsible corporate citizen of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Are you aware that the death percentage attributed to Lassa fever cases is currently put at 43.2%, a figure considered very high? Lassa fever, an acute viral illness characterized by high fever, muscle aches, mouth ulcers and bleeding in the skin, is harbored by rats and spread to humans via the urine and droppings of rats. To prevent Lassa fever, avoid any exposure with rodents, rats, as well as food and objects contaminated with rat secretions and excretions. Report all suspected cases of Lassa fever immediately to the nearest healthcare institution. Help prevent Lassa fever. This message is from the Federal Government of Nigeria.
Good to have you back. If you're just joining us, it's CoreTV Primetime News. A quick reminder of our top stories. Welcome. For more of our news and information, do visit our social media platform, facebook.com/CoreTV News, our Twitter handle @CoreTV News NG. You could get more on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreTV, little space and news. Minister for Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, is calling for community service as a deterrent to road offences in the country. Speaking at the House of Representatives public hearing on a bill from an act to amend the Federal Road Safety Commission Act, the minister says fines are not necessarily good ways of stopping road offences. Correspondent Jamil Afegwa completes the story.
The public hearing, among other things, is seeking to expand the scope of punishment for certain categories of road offences, as many see these offences as minor issues, even where lives and property are concerned.
The bill seeks to amend the Federal Road Safety Commission Act, CAP F19 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2014, to prescribe certain traffic offences and their penalties. 1. Driving without headlights or one of them attracts a fine of up to 20,000 naira. Refusal to use pedestrian bridge where one is provided attracts a fine of about 20,000 naira. Hawking on pedestrian bridge and its precincts attract a fine of 25,000 naira.
1.2 million people, according to statistics, die as a result of road accidents, while another 20 to 40 million sustain fatal injuries, many leading to death. Recently, though, the figure has been reduced, especially in Nigeria, going by the recent United Nations statistics, as the Speaker highlights and the sponsor of the bill agrees to.
I most importantly commend stakeholders and members of the public who have turned up to participate at the hearing, thereby enriching the law-making process. Approximately 1.24 million people die yearly on the world's roads, and another 20 to 50 million sustain non-fatal injuries as a result of road traffic crashes. The World Health Organization, in its report titled road safety in the WHO African region state that road traffic injuries are the leading cause of deaths among young people aged between 15 and 29. Approximately 77% of all road traffic deaths occur among young males under the age of 25 years, and they are almost 3 times as likely to be killed in a car crash compared to young females.
To tame this rate of carnage on our highways, therefore, the Federal Road Safety Commission was established. However, given the colossal loss of life on our highways resulting from accidents, one may need to ask the following question. To what extent has the Commission succeeded in achieving its set goals and objectives? What are the constraints that militate against achieving the set goals and objectives? What are the measures that can be deployed to enhance the achievement of these goals? For the purpose of today's interaction, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to just recap some of the measures captured in the proposed amendment bill that I feel, if enacted into law, may help in curtailing the rate of accidents on our roads. Number one, driving on one-way lane. In other words, driving in the opposite direction.
The minister in his address advises the reconsideration of ways the laws are made, as many of them are custodial and pecuniary. He says the law can be a little more daring in helping to save lives.
The more important issue is the nature of penalties that have been proposed, and I want to invite us to have another look at those penalties. First, they seem to focus on custodial and pecuniary penalties. And to the extent that those custodial and pecuniary penalties have existed for quite a while without us seeing an appreciable reduction in these incidents, perhaps Parliament can be a little more daring and a little more innovative in some of the kind of penalties it wants to consider.
He is proposing corrective punitive measures like community service, compulsory training, and assessing the offender's psychological state of mind.
In terms of deterrence, I think that I would propose that Parliament considers non-custodial sentences that inconvenience the perpetrator, and at the same time corrects them. Sending them to jail first doesn't correct. Fines in themselves also do not correct. And we do have a category of offenders that are classified as recidivists, that irrespective of the fine, they will commit the offense anyway. So Parliament in this sense is invited to consider sanctions like community service.
The public hearing has stakeholders drawn from the Federal Road Safety Commission, Association of Driving School Owners, Tanker Drivers Association, and many others. Jamil Afegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The Taraba state government has sought the refund of 25 billion naira from the federal government, big money spent in reconstructing federal roads in the state. They made this appeal when the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Reimbursement of Expenditure in Federal Government Project in the Northeast, led by Education Minister, visited the state on road inventory. Udwa Godwin completes the story.
The reconstructed federal roads include Jalingo-Sunkani Garaba-Shede Road, 70 kilometers and 100% completion. Bali-Sereti-Gembu Road, 230 kilometers and 60% completion. And construction of Jalingo-Kona-Lao Road, which is 6.5 kilometers still under construction. Describing the roads to be well constructed, the minister says the aim of his visit was to assess federal projects which were carried out by states in the northeast. According to him, after assessment, the committee will report its recommendations to President Muhammadu Buhari. He affirmed that the federal government is working to ensure that all federal projects executed by states are paid for.
What I have seen of the roads that we have visited, the one in town, and then this one from Serti to here, and then from Jalingo to Bali, we are satisfied that what you have already applied for is exactly what is on the ground. Right now, we are only dealing with those for which reimbursement has been applied for. Probably later on, the federal government will take all the others.
The state, however, noted that they will not reject any largesse given it by the federal government, but sees the refund as a stepping stone, as it will aid in developmental projects in the state.
Then recently, too, we have also awarded a contract for survey review of design to Tamal Engineering Nigeria Limited of Mararaba Baisa Abon Road. So these are the roads that, if His Excellency is giving the available resources, he will do them after this one.
The Interministerial Committee is set up by the President to assess federal roads reconstructed and under construction by state governments. The committee is expected to look into various requests by state governments for the refund of the money used in reconstructing these roads. Udwa Godwin, CoreTV News, Jalingo.
As part of celebrations to mark the 40 years anniversary of Ogun State, President Muhammad Buhari will be commissioning 40 landmark infrastructural projects kick-started by Governor Ibikunle Amosun. The week-long celebration by the people of Ogun State here marks the achievement of the state government in carrying out grassroots projects. President Muhammad Buhari is paying a courtesy visit to the Aujale of Ijebuland alongside the commissioning of projects including the President Muhammad Buhari Three Hills Estate.
We are satisfied with all his works. The road he is fixing, even at Songo, he is working on the roads. We are also thankful to Senator Ibikunle Amosun. We are satisfied with all the projects he is doing.
The Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Mike Omiri, says the media needs to be more committed to national development by being patriotic in their reportage. It says the media is a mutual partner in the pursuit of the national development agenda. Kozim Kasali has details.
The Director General of the National Orientation Agency, in his remarks to a group led by the publisher of a newspaper in the country, says the media is a mutual partner in national development, and added that the media must use this vital responsibility well.
In setting a country agenda in the media, we need a team that is fearless, that is committed, that is focused. Therefore, you must continue to be firm but considerate, fair but balanced, focused and patriotic.
Going further, he says the agency will continue to partner with all relevant stakeholders in advancing the cause of national development and the change mantra of the federal government.
This is the time, this is the moment. Our president has called upon us to join him in building a great new Nigeria that will fix the problems that have derailed us in the past wherever.
For his part, Inua Buala, leader of the delegation, says the media will collaborate with the agency to publicize the activities of government at all times.
We have always looked for an opportunity to partner with National Orientation Agency because we believe that the job of the media and that of the National Orientation Agency are complementary.
The group also commended the agency for its doggedness in pushing the Nigerian agenda. Kozim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Reactions have continued to trail the latest development in the country's power sector. The recent happens to be the call made to the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, on the need to examine the activities of stakeholders in the sector. Speaking on our flagship program, Core Digest, a representative of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Chris Okonkwo, speaks on the challenges facing the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission and the current stand of the Labour Union. Our correspondent Sarah Ayeku files in this report.
We are saying no to it. Now it is very simple. When there is a substitute court order, you have no right under the heaven to do anything to subjugate or invariance to that substitute order. If they should go ahead to increase, the law is already, the trap of the law is already waiting for them. We are going to bring court proceeding against them. Let them increase. They are on their way to jail.
In the light of the memorandum of understanding signed among stakeholders in the power sector, the various electricity distribution companies were expected to facilitate the metering process of prepaid meters to Nigerians within 18 months gestation period before any increase in tariff. The breach on the part of DISCO, this Labour representative says it's illegal and claimed that there were no negotiations among stakeholders over tariff increment.
Government should at least give Nigerians the reprieve to have this process run out before going into it. But efficiency, even if you don't increase and the efficiency improves, that is money, more money coming in for the DISCOs. But what we have seen is that the DISCOs are looking the other way. They have abysmally failed in improving services.
However, with the privatization of the electricity company, corruption is still a problem to the sector.
In the power sector, we talked about the process, the labor, I mean. We couldn't stop it. Now they have bought it. We expect that they will do what they told us or they signed they will do. Now that is an issue. What we have found is that most of them are looking for excuses why they cannot perform.
On the other hand, the acting chairman of NERC says the sector has since been depleted with the unrealistic market price of the commodity.
Electricity is a product just like you have bread and needs to be priced rightly. However, regrettably, in our own country, we did not provide market realistic price for electricity. Some saw it as a free commodity that was being provided by the federal government, and therefore over the years the market was highly not recovering. We have a lot of bills that came to a point that the market came to a point of being insolvent.
Nigerians await what the verdict of the tussle between the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission will be, as the implementation of the percentage increase will be determined through the open letter received in the homes of Nigerians at the end of the month. Sarah Ayeku, CoreTV News, Lagos.
The Commissioner for Special Duties in Plateau State, Hitler Dadi, has charged youth in the state to give peace a chance if they want to see developmental activities in their communities. Dadi, who made the call when youth from charcoal extraction in Latang South paid him a courtesy visit in his office, said to carry arms against fellow residents is to oppose the present administration. He blamed youth restiveness for the prolonged communal crisis which has hindered development in the rural areas. Our Plateau State correspondent has the details.
One of you, the governor made him that he's a governor under his office. Can you imagine? What do you think that would have made him to do that kind of thing? That means he wants those people to work with the kind of people. He wants to seek their advices, they should collaborate with him so that they can move this state forward.
The commissioner, also a former 3-time local government chairman in Lantang South, said the investment of both federal and state governments are enough to provide employment for the teeming youths of the area if they can only lay down their hands and grievances, adding that the arable lands of Lantang South, where the visiting youths hail from, can help produce enough food crops to feed the nation if peace is allowed in the land.
So our unity in diversity, it was makes us big. It was make this country great. And in fact, come down to Plateau State. Plateau is a state that Nigeria, if we remove Plateau out of Nigeria, that will be no Nigeria. Because we are the center. Before when? Before when?
You know that is the Columbine, whatever. That was the pride of this nation.
The youth leader, who also spoke in the local language, requested for bore oil to be drilled and good roads constructed in their communities.
Cause 38 participants of the military college Jaji visited Jos to understudy alternative sources of revenue. Team leader Commodore Namdi Mogolim, who is the Director Curriculum and Doctrine Development Command and Staff College Jaji, says there are in Jos for under-sport assessment with a view of enlightening alternative sources of revenue potentials in the state. This, they say, is essential considering the current dwindling oil prices seriously affecting the nation's financial flow. Our Plateau State correspondent has the report.
With the dwindling fortune from the oil sector, it's provoked this thing, which is a strategic directive from the Commander-in-Chief. And I know you said Your Excellency is also looking towards this direction, because I know once the Accountant General comes back from FAC meeting, it's one story or the other. The Minister of the Finance, the Minister of State Finance. And I believe at the end of this study, the students will provide solutions and strategies that will add value to the state.
Responding to the proposal, the Governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong, says the move is in the right direction, adding that the state has been on the search for alternative source of revenue so as to avoid economic collapse. Lalong revealed that the state is blessed with several solid minerals and agricultural potentials, coupled with the tourist attractions which can sustain the economy of any nation if properly harnessed.
We thank Mr. President for refocusing the nation and adopting this theme, and especially that you are coming to Plateau. This has also been a priority, and we are now moving. We are not enjoying oil very much. So our focus is now on the non-oil sector, especially solid minerals and tourism. I am not preempting your conclusion, but I definitely know that these are areas that will be of interest to Plateau State and also Nigeria. So as you focus yourselves to embark on this study, we are praying that the end conclusion will be of great benefit to not only Plateau State, but to Nigeria as a whole.
The dwindling international oil prices have forced several oil-producing countries to seek other sources of revenue potentials. For the first time in many years, Plateau State is seen giving consistent attention to its agri sector.
A suicide bomb attack in Kabul kills 20 and wounds 29. Join us after this break for more earned stories from outside Nigeria.
Are you aware that the death percentage attributed to Lassa fever cases is currently put at 43.2%, a figure considered very high? Lassa fever, an acute viral illness characterized by high fever, muscle aches, mouth ulcers and bleeding in the skin, is harbored by rats and spread to humans via the urine and droppings of rats. To prevent Lassa fever, avoid any exposure with rodents, rats, as well as food and objects contaminated with rat secretions and excretions. Report all suspected cases of Lassa fever immediately to the nearest healthcare institution. Help prevent Lassa fever. This message is from the Federal Government of Nigeria.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Welcome. On the foreign scene, a suicide bomber has killed 20 people and wounded 29 others in the process. The bombing took place at a police headquarters in the Afghan capital, Kabul, and reports suggest most of those killed and injured are police officers. Taliban forces have claimed responsibility for the bombing and all the strings of attack in Kabul. And also, the first freely elected parliament in Myanmar in 50 years has held its opening session. Hundreds of new Myanmar parliamentarians, mostly from the National League for Democracy (NLD), but also some smaller parties, have been sworn and taken their seat. The NLD, led by Aung San Suu Kyi, won 80% contested seat in November's historic election. However, a quarter of all seats are reserved for the military, which also retains control of key ministries. And now to the world of sports.
Our style, that's what he delivered. Usain Bolt storming, now he takes Puyol with a flying lead.
Go, taking them out in the lead.
In sport, Barcelona right back Martin Montoya has joined Real Betis on loan till the end of the season. Montoya had been on loan at Inter Milan, but that deal now has been cut short in a bid to allow him join La Liga strugglers Betis. Barcelona and Betis reached an agreement for the loan of Martin Montoya till June 30, 2016, rescinding the contract in place with Inter Milan. And also, Pep Guardiola has agreed a 3-year contract to become Manchester City manager in the summer. The 45-year-old, currently in charge at Bayern Munich, will replace Manuel Pellegrini, who will leave on 30 June. A statement from City said Chelin Pellegrini, 62, was fully supportive of the announcement being made. The club said negotiations with former Barcelona coach Guardiola is a recommencement of discussions that were curtailed in 2012. The management of Nigeria Professional Football League side 3SC has unveiled Kadiri Ikana as the side's new technical advisor for the upcoming season. Ikana guided Eyimba to win their 7th league title on a record 70 points in the outgone 2014-2015 NPLF season. An official of the side, Jibril Arolo, said the former Kwara United handler has already been introduced to the players and expressed satisfaction with the new challenge at the Ibadan Landlords. And just before we go tonight, a quick reminder about top stories. Thank you so very much for watching CoreTV Primetime News. My name is Omotayo Ayo. Bye for now.